Hi, and welcome to Probeline. I'm your host, Reid Haughey. We want to thank the good folks at the Thrift Shop who have made an annual grant to GrassRoots that makes this and other programs available. Here at Probeline, we're hoping to provide you an opportunity to get to know your candidates for elected office, and today we're joined by Linda Manning, who would like to be on Aspen City Council. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Reid. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming. How are you?
Great. It's so great to be here, and it's a perfect opportunity to get my face out there to more people, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Good. So you're currently the city clerk, right?
That's correct.
How did you end up getting to be the city clerk?
Well, I've been the clerk for the past 5 years. I've worked for the city for almost 10 years now. I've been in the Valley for about 15, and I got here, I was working for Lowe's, the home improvement warehouse at the time, back in Pennsylvania. And
where in Pennsylvania?
Outside of Pittsburgh, western Pennsylvania. So they were opening stores in Colorado, the store in Glenwood, and they just out of the blue said, hey, we have an opportunity, are you interested? Did a little Google research, and I saw, Colorado, 300 days of sun a year, Pittsburgh, 80. That looks interesting. Next thing I knew, I was driving my U-Haul van across the country. I had never been farther west than the Mississippi before, so
really?
It was a great opportunity. And we built the store in Glenwood. I lived there for about 2 years, and then I moved to Basalt, and I worked at the lumberyard in the business center. So I worked in the store there, ran the store for about 2 years. And then an opportunity at the city of Aspen opened up in the utilities office. And I started working for the city about 10 years ago. And I worked in the utilities office for about 3 years. And then it kind of merged with the finance department. And I did oversaw the sales tax and business licenses. And then Jackie in the city clerk's office had retired. And I knew Catherine and Kathy, but I didn't really know what they did up there. And I was like, I want to go and work with those ladies.
Yeah.
So at that time, it was a deputy city clerk position, but they changed it to a records management job. And I said, well, I don't care what the job is. I just want to get in that office. So I applied for and got that job, and I started working in the clerk's office.
Why'd you want to be in that office?
There was something about the city clerk's office. There was like a mystique around that. And it was like, ooh, the city clerks, it's just, there was some intrigue there. And I just knew from a customer service standpoint that what they did, it was beyond customer service. Everybody loved the city clerk's office. They had their fingers in everything. There wasn't a meeting that they weren't involved with. They knew everything that ever happened in the city of Aspen. And, Kathy Strickland had worked for the city for 20-some years. Catherine was there for almost 40 years. So they knew everything about everything. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's the place to be. So shortly after I started working, Catherine announced she was retiring. And it was like, ooh, she was supposed to give a little more time than she did. But she retired, and I applied for and got the job as the city clerk. So I've been doing that for 5 years.
Yeah.
And part of my job is I go to every city council meeting. I prepare all of the packets. I read all of the memos. So I know everything that's going on. And I sit through all of those meetings, and I participate without saying anything.
So you're running for council because you just want to say something.
I do. There are so many of those meetings that I sit in, and I'm kicking the attorney under the table, like, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And I sit there, and I'm familiar with everything that's happening. And I go to the P&Z meetings, I go to the HPC meetings, so I see all these projects from start to finish. And there are so many times where I'm like, I want to be more involved, and I think there are some decisions that it's like, maybe I would have done that a little bit differently. And I'm in an interesting position because I work for the city, so I see things from a staff perspective. I see things and I hear things from, this is, what staff's input is, and then I see it at the council table. So I get to hear all of the community input from the public comment, but I also see all of the hard work that staff puts in on these projects. So I'm seeing it from both sides. I'm seeing it from the staff side, I see it from the community side, and I see it from the council side. So I don't know that there's anyone more involved than me at this point, because I get to see it from every perspective. And I'm now at a point where I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been participating. I've been to more city council meetings than anyone except the mayor, because if he's out of town, then we reschedule the meetings around him. In 5 years, I've only missed 1.5 city council meetings. So I've sat through pretty much everything. And now I just think it's time for me to actually get to participate.
Why?
I love this community, and one of my most favorite things about my job is, helping out our businesses. My office, we do all of the liquor licenses for the city. We do all of the marijuana licenses. We have businesses come in and they'll be like, Linda, I have this crazy idea. How do I make it happen? And my office, we don't like to say no. People come in with bizarre ideas. And we're like, all right, well, let's see how we can make that happen. Because we want our local businesses to succeed in this town. And we do whatever we can within the rules to make that happen. So, people will come in and we work, if we have to take them to environmental health, if we have to take them to the building department, if we have to take them to engineering, we'll do that because we want people to succeed. And, nothing makes me happier than seeing a project go from start to finish. And sometimes things have to get tweaked along the way. But, I genuinely want our businesses to succeed in this town. And sometimes as the city, it seems like instead of removing barriers, we put them in their way. And I want that to go the other way. I want us to, if we have to pause and step back and say, okay, how can we make this happen? What is best, for the community as a whole, but, we have to keep in mind that it's, I want our businesses to succeed. And, a good recent example of that was, we had the moratorium 2 years ago, and we said this whole sign code thing got rewritten because of a Supreme Court ruling, and we had a big discussion about what do we do with sandwich board signs. And we said, as a city, we're going to put a stop on it for new applications. The ones that are out there can exist, but any new business that comes to town, sorry, you can't have a sandwich board sign. And we have a lot of businesses that are in basements and second floors that would love to have a sandwich board sign out there to let customers and visitors and locals know, hey, I have a business on a second floor, but they can't have a sandwich board sign out. And to me, that's just us as a city putting one more obstacle in these businesses' way, saying, sorry, you can't have a sign. And it's just a little thing that would go a long way to, help a business, but they can't have it.
Yeah.
But, I want to do this because I'm passionate about our community. And I think, I get to serve our community every day being in the city clerk's office. But if I'm on city council, I think I can just take that to a bigger level and just serve everybody.
Well, you love the community.
I do.
And what do you love about it?
Everything, the people, I don't know that there is we have everything here. We have the resort, I love the busy times of the year when everybody's here, but I also like the little breaks we get when it's quiet, and I feel like, we have our breathing room back. The mountains are fantastic. I don't ski, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, how can you live here and not ski? But to me, there's so many other things to do. I'm a big time runner, and winter running is my favorite time of year to run. But, I'll snowshoe and road bike. I bought a Harley 2 summers ago, so, I kind of traded in my pedal bike for that. But, there's every activity you could possibly want to do here. But it really is the people that makes this town so special. And just being a part of that it's unbelievable. We really are a community. And, we are a small town that wants to be a big city. And, I can walk into town in the morning. You can do any activity you want on your lunch break, from a class to running or whatever. Hit up an art show after work here at the Red Brick. Go to dinner, go out and dance to the wee hours in the morning if you want to, and get up and go to work and do it all again the next day. This town has anything you could possibly want to do here.
That's
It's a great place.
So how do you spend most of your time relaxing?
Well, right now I don't have a lot of time to relax
Right.
between work and campaigning, but I love to exercise, so you'll find me at the gym all the time, but I have a ton of hobbies. I knit, I sew, I quilt. I love to bake, so I'm constantly baking and giving things away. But just, and even just being out in the community.
Yeah.
There's always something to do here.
Do you do any volunteer work?
I try to. I mean, it's with me, it's very hard because my job takes up typically 50 hours a week. There's so many evening meetings, but, hopefully when I'm on council, I still am going, if I get elected, I'll have to give up my job as city clerk.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. How does that work?
Yeah.
And then how do you stay in the community?
Well, I will still have to work. So
Yeah.
I will have to work a full-time job regardless. I live in APSHA housing. So, I have to work.
Right.
I will have to work a full-time job to.
Well, plus you have to eat.
Exactly. I was going to say to pay my student loans that I'm still paying and,
Right.
My rent and all of that. But I'm hoping that if I'm elected that someone will want a city council person working for them and I won't have to, hit up all my friends and bartend and all of their restaurants. But I will have to work a full-time job. But I'm hoping that whatever I do will allow for a more flexible work schedule so I can do more volunteer work than my
Yeah.
schedule permits me to right
Well,
now.
and it really is kind of, it's nice to have this notion that the city council is a part of the community and working in the community, have lives other than being city council people rather than being full-time. That's what I am.
Exactly. But it's nice that you are a member of the community, and I think right now there aren't any current city council members that are under 50 that are working, 40-hour-a-week jobs, that are living in workforce housing. So
Right.
I think it would be a nice change to have someone on council who represents that piece of the community.
Yeah. So let's see, you go to city council meetings.
Yes.
And then one day, you mentioned the whole sandwich board
Yeah.
thing as being where, the city seems to get in the way, if you will. Is that what else inspired you to run? I mean, what do you want to do?
Well, and I think another good example is right now we're going through a transition in our management inside City Hall. So we are without a city manager currently. City Council asked our current city manager to step down. We are down one assistant city manager. So I think also, because I have worked inside City Hall for the past 10 years, I think I could give a good perspective on a new city manager. Having someone who represents staff to be part of the team that would select a new city manager, I think that would be a beneficial person to have as part of the group of 5
Yeah.
that are choosing the next person to lead City Hall and represent the community. I think that would be a fantastic person to have on as part of that team. Having a city manager that can inspire staff, that's only a win for the whole community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, I could give a good perspective
Yeah.
for that as well.
Well, it'd be important to have, a variety of voices with making that selection, because it is a partnership between the town council and the city manager to.
Well, in the community
Move
as a
things
whole,
forward,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that the city has not done a tremendous job in communication. We've had some recent projects where there's been a lack of good communication between City Hall and the community. And, as a member of staff, we could do a much better job. We are workers. When someone says, here's a problem, solve it, that's what we do. We want to solve problems. And so that's what we're good at. But we're not always so great at getting that message out there to the people in the community. And, sometimes we, drop the ball on getting feedback because we're so focused on solving the problem. And we think we have a great solution, and then when we present that to the public, it may not be the one that everyone in the community wants.
Yeah, that you've kind of lost the support for whatever. Well, how do you fix that, though?
Well, and a lot of that is, getting out in front of it and saying, hey, here are some really good ideas. Here's maybe A, B, and C. How do you feel about that beforehand? But yeah, will it slow the process down? Of course. And, that has to be something that everybody's ready for. You're not going to get an immediate solution. And, what used to maybe take 9 months might take 13 or 14 months because you're soliciting feedback on the front end instead of at the end. But that's something that, everyone's just going to have to realize, hey, instead of maybe just going out for 1 or 2 feedback sessions, you have one at the beginning, get feedback, work on the problem, then present again.
Yeah.
So, but, if that's what it takes to get more community support, then maybe it's worth doing that. Because, the whole mobility lab example, the pedestrian bikeway, I mean, we've had some pretty big projects go south just because of the feedback issue. And it's not good for anybody. We don't need that split in the community.
Right.
And we don't need it on a staff level either, because we have a lot of really good staff people who are very smart and very talented, and we want to work. We want to do a good job. And it's hard, too, as a staff person, when you spend a lot of time working on something and you think you have a really good solution, and then you hear back from the community, and it's like, oh, that's not what they wanted.
Right.
To then get motivated again to go out to the next project.
Yeah. But, there's always that balance of,
Oh, of course.
of you want to get things done, but you want to get the support of the community. But on the other hand, it's this analysis paralysis thing of you can spend your whole time moving these issues forward. It's tough to get that balance and move it.
And there's always going to be people who, no matter what you do, it doesn't matter how much feedback you gather, there's always going to be people who, no matter what you do, aren't going to like something.
Right.
And, we need to realize that. And I think as the city we do. No matter how much input you solicit, there's always going to be people who aren't going to be happy no matter what we do.
Yeah. So, you love the community. What particular things about it do you love, and do you want to see go forward or enhance? And
well, there's a lot of things that I love. We have a great workforce housing program, and that's something that we need to continue to move forward. And everyone is going to talk about affordable housing and employee housing, and I think the first thing we need to do with that is figure out what we have. And the housing team, they're working on an inventory management system. But until we know what we actually have and who is in what units, and are the people who are in there qualified to be there, I don't know that we can really move forward with the program. We're talking now with the county about what do we do with APSHA? Do we restructure it? How do we restructure it? I think those conversations are somewhat premature until we know what asset it is we have to manage. I think we need to get a handle on that first. Figure out what we have, what are the capital reserves, what do we have to manage, and then let's figure out is our current system right? Once we figure out what we have, who's in it, the rules need to be communicated, and they need to be enforced consistently. If we're not enforcing the rules consistently, people are going to get upset. And I think that's where some of the issues have happened in the past. If things aren't being enforced consistently, then, of course, there's going to be issues with the system. So we need to figure out what we have to manage, and then enforce the rules consistently. And then we can talk about where do we go from here.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, well, we need to build more units. Well, let's figure out what we have first. And then we can get a little creative within the system. We have people who, 15, 20 years ago, when they were raising families and they were in 3-bedroom units, their kids are now out of the household and they're in units that are too big for them. If they want to swap with someone within the system who's in a home that's too small, let them swap. Those people have already qualified. If, someone is in a 2-bedroom place and they now have 3 kids and they want a larger place and they want to swap with an empty nester, let them swap. They're already in there. The people who need a bigger place, instead of having to maybe move down valley, let them stay in the system. Let them keep being productive members of our community. I think we need to think a little more creatively about the assets that we already have.
It begs the question that you mentioned that you came out here to open the Lowe's store, that you have student debt.
Yes.
So I'm curious, what did you study, and is it a business background?
Oh, gosh,
you're
yeah.
you're starting to talk about APSHA
Yeah.
as an asset, and that business language is. So I want to know more.
I actually studied archaeology and geology.
What was I thinking?
Yeah, no business background. But it's funny because everything I did after school was more in the business arena.
Yeah.
All of my background at Lowe's and in the lumberyard was on the business end. So that's
Right.
where, I
So
managed
that's where
all
the
those
education
stores.
came in of
Yes.
thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I knew I needed a college education, but I had no idea what I wanted to study in school. So I said, I'll go dig up bones in Africa someday, which is where the
Right.
archaeology came in. And then I would have stayed
Did
in
that
school
work?
forever.
Did you get to Africa? Or?
No, far from it. No, the farthest I ended up was in, the southern United States for a few summers, but it was fun. But there is no real career in archaeology unless you want to, really live out of a tent the rest of your life. And,
Yeah.
I thought maybe one day I'd do museum work, but...
Now, how'd that lead to Lowe's?
Well, there was a Lowe's in my college town, and so I was doing that and going to school
Where
at the
was
same
college?
time. Indiana University of Pennsylvania. So I was just working there part-time while I went to school, one of many jobs. And when I graduated, they said, just work for us full-time. And they
Right.
treated me really well. So I stayed with them.
Yeah.
And it led me out here. So, I'm very thankful to
So when
to
you
my
came
Lowe's
out
family.
here, what is opening a Lowe's like? I mean, what
Oh
what
my
did that
gosh.
involve?
Well, it was from the
Was it
ground
really
up. There was a
like-
concrete box, and we did everything else. We put all the shelving in, and I mean, we literally opened that store.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work.
So the shell was there.
The shell was there, but we put everything in the inside. I mean,
How long did that take?
it was a couple month process. I mean, it was quite interesting. They brought in an outside crew, but we did everything. We drilled the holes in the
Yeah.
concrete and put the shelves up and brought all the product in and hired all the employees, and it was an interesting experience.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
And that was, you said, 15
Yeah.
years ago? Well, that's the thing, sort of everybody's challenge is how to make their way in the valley and stay here.
Yeah,
And now you want to be on the council.
I do. Yeah, I mean, I just think, like you said, I sit in all of those meetings, and I just think I could bring a new, young, just different perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked for the city for 10 years. I've seen a lot come through, and there's some new excitement that I think I could bring that we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah. How is it, and I have to ask this,
Sure.
how is it more than, I've been on the inside and seen the mechanics of this things, I can do this better.
Yeah.
Is that really sort of what you're thinking, or is there a particular direction that you want to go?
Yeah, I don't know if it's such I can do this better. I think it's just more of a different. I want to try things different. I think even just the way the council meetings have been going lately, I think there's a lot of our current council all seems to be on a different page about everything. We sit in the meetings and there's not a lot of consistency between our council members.
Consistency, like individuals
Just-
taking the same position
Yes,
over time,
yeah.
or
just
agreement?
even from meeting to meeting, consistency and thought between them. And there doesn't always have to be,
Right.
but when we sit in meetings and meetings go on until 11, 12 o'clock at night, I think meetings, and a lot of it is up to the mayor as well as to how the meetings progress and how the meetings are run. But, and we will have a different mayor come June when the new council is sworn in. So I think that will probably change how the meetings are conducted. If I'm on council, I still will have to work a job and I hope we're not there till midnight for all of our meetings.
Yeah.
But, I think there will be new energy on the city council regardless of what happens. But, it would be nice if the council communicates. I know they can't, more than three of them can communicate prior to a meeting, but, it would be nice if there's some communication between the council members and, prior to the meetings. And
Well, it does seem like it's always, it is a council, the learning to work as a group.
Yes.
In some way is really important, and fostering that dynamic of being able to work things through so that you get at least some consent from the group to move forward.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like with our current group of council members, there is that, sense of team.
And what in your experience has brought the ability to put a team together?
Well, I run a team in my office. So, there's 5 of us in our office, and we work really well together. Everybody knows what their job is, and we get it done. And I would not be pursuing city council if I didn't think I had a team that could do the job if I wasn't in the office.
Yeah.
So, I would not leave the city in a position where if I was elected to city council and had to quit my job, that the clerk's office was not able to function
Yeah.
without me in there. So, that's my first priority, is making sure our office functions. So we all know what we have to do. We are a well-oiled machine in our office. So, I think I have a really good team. We all work together. We know what we need to do. So I think that if I was on council, I could help foster that sense of team.
Yeah. Now, my wife would want me to ask you, what kind of Harley do you have?
Oh, I have a Sportster.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's so pretty. She's matte charcoal and just matte black pipes. There's no chrome on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you get that?
2 summers ago.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you so
with
much.
both the election and with your Harley.
Thank you.
Be careful with both.
I am. Yes.
All right. Well, and that concludes another episode of Probeline. Hope this has been helpful getting to know candidates. Today, Linda Manning. And thank you for tuning in.